Visit Tampa Bay, but actually I'm not an influencer. So Chelsea, my friend here, is actually an influencer. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name is Chelsea Bear. On social media, my handle is Real Chelsea Bear, and across all of my platforms, I have nearly 500,000 followers.
Awesome. So what we're going to talk about a little bit today is how Visit Tampa Bay uses influencer marketing to promote our accessibility, diversity, and inclusion. So my role at Visit Tampa Bay is I'm actually with our PR, marketing, and social media team. So with that, I also work with directly our influencers and our influencer program. And with that, we're always looking for news stories. We always see family travel, we always see single travel, luxury travel, but when looking at different stories, different voices, we've really opened up to LGBT, accessibility, multicultural, and it really just unwinds and so many more opportunities. So I just want to go ahead and get started. We started actually back in early 2021. We decided to add diversity 100% into our marketing mix, and what we do a really good job of is we are not the experts in every subject. So we have multicultural ambassadors, we have LGBTQ ambassadors, we have accessibility ambassadors. We work with these people who live every day in those communities, so we are not spewing answers and speaking for people. We want to make sure that we are getting firsthand information from these people themselves. So Jamie, right here, she runs a accessibility travel agency called Adventures by Jamie. We started working with her, and we were fully committed to an accessibility platform on our page. So we included her in new ad creative. We invited her to public speaking engagements. We had her write a blog that lives on our site. And we created a full 30-second ad that streams on Hulu, so she is fully integrated into our branding and our marketing. Here's a little clip of what that looks like. So it's subtle. We don't want it to hit you over the head with it, and that's also something that I take pride in when we do our fan visits, is we don't want to be overly force it down your throat what we're trying to do. So we do a lot with pride. We do a lot with multicultural, Black History Month, accessibility, but we do that throughout the entire year. That's part of our destination. That's part of our branding, as we are a welcoming destination. We don't want to just do LGBT stuff in June. We do it in March with the Pride Parade. We don't want to just do Black-focused travel engagement in February. We do Black summer campaigns. We do family travel. And accessibility is something that we've decided to be an always-on thing, because it is something people live with every single day. So any opportunity that comes our way, it's a chance for a new story, a new voice. It could be mobility impairment. It could be sensory friendly. It could be blind. It could be, the list goes on and on. We've heard so many stories. So people are looking for that information, and we are working with influencers to provide the firsthand experience. So working with people like Chelsea, they'll come into our area and they'll see, like, you can go on Busch Gardens, you can go to the Florida Aquarium, you can go to the zoo, you can go to the parks, you can get on the boats and ride in the river. You can do it all, and you're getting that firsthand experience. It's not pre-set up by us, it's just how our destination is. So you can see we work with Corey Lee. That was immediately after we launched our accessibility page. Corey won a Webby in 2019 for his blog and has traveled to all 7 countries, makes 6 figures, and lives the life I wish I had. He is an awesome person, and through that exposure, we met our friend Chelsea. Chelsea reached out. She had just moved to Tampa and was interested in seeing some of the area's just best offerings. It wasn't accessibility focused. She just moved into town and wanted to see kind of what we had to offer. We spun it and said, hey, that's awesome. Let's set some things up. We want to send you to the top attractions. We don't want to send you to things that we think are accessible. We want to send you to the places where we know people are looking to go. So Chelsea can tell you she went to Busch Gardens. She went to everything that we send people to all the time. It was authentic, it was organic, it's natural. And through that, we're still working disabilities of all kinds. We just hosted a sensory-friendly family. Marquita Smith, she brought her daughter, put some noise-reducing headphones on her, and she had a blast everywhere we went. So that's enough about me. Chelsea,
My
talk a little
turn.
bit.
Thank you. So again, my name is Chelsea. I know I shared I'm a disability advocate and content creator. If you're not familiar with my platform, I share about my experiences of living with cerebral palsy. So I use my mobility scooter part-time, but also can walk. And I really just share how I do day-to-day things and really created my platform to make the conversations that were traditionally uncomfortable, comfortable in ways that are digestible and fun for people to understand and be part of the conversations. So a little bit more about my platform. So I've had my disability my entire life, but I didn't really start proactively speaking about it until just a few years ago, which influenced me to launch a blog sharing my experiences. At the beginning of the pandemic, I had around 1,000 followers and have grown to where it is today. So it's been pretty fast and furious, and now kind of working backwards to figure out how to make the most change with this platform that I do have. So I've been interviewed by a bunch of different news outlets about accessibility, and for me, travel is something I'm super passionate about. And just to give perspective, before I had my platform, and even still today when I am planning a trip, there was a lot of anxiety and fear going into it, which I'm sure some people in the room can relate to. If I'm planning a trip and I'm going to a destination, I'm flying across the country, I always had these fears, once I get there, will I be able to actually explore? Will there be things that I can do with my scooter and be able to get around? And I think for me, there's a lot of research that goes into planning a trip, and it was really beneficial for me to go to other bloggers at the time that traveled and see things that they had done visually than sorting through websites where accessibility is usually hidden and takes a long time to find. So that was one of the reasons I was really attracted to visit Tampa Bay, because right on their homepage they have a whole section dedicated to accessibility, which made it really easy for me to figure out what things I can do, and also that they're prioritizing it. Okay, I wanted to share some tips if anyone in the room is interested in working with influencers in the disability space. I think finding people with disabilities that are sharing these kinds of experiences is usually one of the hardest part that I've heard from people in the industry. And I think for me, I've been able to connect with a lot of people simply by looking through hashtags, which I would recommend doing, following accessible travel, accessible tourism, and even if somebody isn't specific to disabled travel, if they speak about living with a disability, it could still be a fit for you, to welcome them in and have them experience things that they may have thought they couldn't before.
Just to add on to that, something that I wanted to share was, I don't know how many destination brands are in attendance right now, but one of the things I wanted to make sure they considered was a roadblock might be it's difficult working with accessibility influencers or people with disabilities. It's going to be an extra step. I might have to find accommodations, I might have to find attractions, I might have to find things that might be out of the norm. What I would say to that is, you're wrong. It's actually very easy. We accepted a ton of FAMs, media visits, press trips from accessibility bloggers, influencers, writers, and what we found is a lot of the stuff is already ready to go. People, I have no need to go to that page. I have no need to look out for that information. But people like Chelsea, people like Marquita, they're actively looking for this information all the time. So when we're planning visits, we try to say, you're going to go to the Busch Gardens, you're going to go to the zoo, you're going to go to the aquarium, we're going to go on a kayak tour. We're doing all of the stuff that we do with everybody else, and it was already set up. We didn't really have to do any extra legwork. So if that's a roadblock for anybody to get into working with accessibility, disability influencers, I just want you to know that it's not as hard as it is, as you think.
Perfect. And then this last slide, I was just going to share a little bit of my personal perspective of accessible travel. And I wanted to start off by saying, I think now inclusion and diversity is on the rise across multiple industries. And with that, I think it's trendy where people are trying to get a part of it just because it's the thing to do. But I think it's obviously beyond a trend, it's a necessity. And I think that a lot of consumers and travelers are really paying attention to what people are doing to be inclusive. And you could say you're accessible, but are you really? And I think with social media and influencers like myself, who now have platforms where if we enter a business and it's not accessible, we could talk about it. And I think there's a lot of value in having those conversations because you never know who's reading it. It could be somebody who is an architect, and if they're designing another building, it's just certain things to keep in mind. So I think for me, traveling over the past, over a decade, I've seen the shift of people are really starting to think, or at least I would hope so, how to make their venues more accessible. And I just hope that the future will continue to go in that direction while utilizing disabled people's firsthand experiences in those thought processes.
Awesome. So. And just a quick question. So how many people here use Instagram or Facebook or TikTok? That's why influencer marketing works. Everybody uses it. Everybody's on it. As far as a company for the results, we got 350,000 video views for our accessibility video, hundreds of thousands of views, almost millions?
Millions, yeah.
Millions of views off working with Chelsea. 750,000 page views per month on Corey Lee's blog. So from a marketing side, it works. The audience is engaged. They're reading the captions. They're reading the descriptions. They're not liking and engaging the photos because they think it's a pretty picture. They're looking for travel information on the brands, how the brand is helpful. So as far as getting your message across, it works.
Yeah, and to add on to that, my followers usually are either disabled themselves, they know somebody with a disability, or they're interested in learning about the disabled experience. So that's the exact audience, you want to be targeting, and it's the perfect way to share these types of experiences with the people that they would matter to the most. So
I think that's all we have for you guys.
Okay, thank you very much. I want